Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Taco Bell. It is Tuesday evening. Happy Taco Tuesday to you. Today, I've got a great show for you because, as you can see, a common theme throughout all of my deal. I'm an aviator. How did I become an aviator? Well, I was definitely influenced by my uncle, who was an F-14 Rio in the mighty uh, Puking Dogs VF-143 out of Oceania. Now, mind you, it didn't help that he had an airplane he used to take me flying. But as we moved through life, Final Countdown came out. That was a great F-14 movie. But the movie that changed the world in aviation was a little known film called Top Gun. And tonight we are blessed and really lucky to have Dave Baranek, on the show tonight. And he is going to talk about his time as a F-14 Rio, as a Top Gun instructor, and also part of the cadre that helped make this film and bring it to the theaters to make it a success. Bio, how are you?
Oh, hey, Taco.
Baranek.
Baranek.
Baranek. God dang it, Baranek.
I'm good.
I had to practice it. I'll write it up on the chalkboard 40 times, I promise.
Baranek. That's where my
Bionic.
call sign came
And
from.
that's how you get your call sign. That is cool. Well, welcome aboard, sir.
And later in my career, I was telling somebody that, and they go, "Well, moronic also rhymes with bionic." I go, "Yes, Baranek," but nobody thought of that. So
Well,
anyway, thanks for having me, Taco.
well,
Nice
I'm glad
to be
that.
here.
Yeah, I'm glad Bio stuck because that was also one of my favorite TV shows as a kid. Was Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man. So,
Everybody knew that, man.
yeah, but all the young people sitting there watching the show probably are like, "What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, I don't
Bionic
even know if
Man."
that's on YouTube or anything anymore. But oh well.
Yeah, you can find them. But the thing is that Top Gun is going to be released, the new one, and it's going to bring an entire new generation into the services, just like young guys like myself that were exposed to it. Well, I'm not that
I
young
mean, we're
anymore.
here, and that's part of my lead in. I heard you. Very nice introduction, thanks. But when they were making that movie, I certainly, I mean, I thought I had no idea that it would turn into a thing, and
Right.
certainly not that it would last 35 years. But shows what I know.
Just a little tiny
Yeah,
film company, production company, Paramount comes out, and you happen to be at the right place at the right time,
yes,
doing the doing things. But I mean, kind of like your book, as I'm sitting here reading this, guys. If you all are out there and you haven't read any of his books, you've got to read it. As a matter of fact, if you see Smegs, John, I apologize for being like a kid over the moon to meet you on Facebook last night because literally it is such easy reading. I felt like I was with you in the ready room, in the cutting room, doing the dialogue scenes. It was really well done. Um,
thanks.
Perfect. So you go through Top Gun, and just like the movie, there's a class of students you go through for 5 weeks,
Yes.
and at the end of it, what did they say to you?
So when I went through, and I don't mind telling you this because the process has changed fundamentally. But when I went through, first off, the commanding officer of the squadron selected who was going to go through as a student, and then during the class, the instructors looked at the students and they were keeping notes. Oh, this guy's good, but he's whatever. He's just not standing out. And then, oh, this guy, he's really a standout. We need to try to get him back here as an instructor.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had no idea that all that was going on. And so at the end of the class, I mean, I shouldn't have even told you that that's what they're doing. But at the end of the class, the instructors were, it's like remember when you played baseball as a kid, and at the end of the game, the two teams go past each other and shake hands and stuff. Well, it's
Mhm.
kind of like that at the end of the Top Gun class. And a couple of instructors said, hey, Bio, nice job. If you want to come back here as an instructor, let us know.
Mhm.
Well, I thought they said that to everybody. I thought it was just like
No, they
fluff.
didn't.
But then a couple of months later, I there was an instructor in our squadron, Streak Chanik, who was a great dude, and he was in a former Top Gun instructor who was in VF-24 with us, And I had this idea, and I go, Streak, I'm thinking about seeing if I can go back and be a Top Gun instructor.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, what did they say to you at graduation? And I told him, I said, they told me to come back. He goes, you should go over and see him. So I went over there, and they said, hey, Bio, yeah, we'd like to have you as an instructor. And from then on, I mean, there were a few formalities, but that's how I
Right.
started the path to being an instructor. And I didn't become an instructor for another from that point,
Six
almost
months?
no, almost 2 years,
Oh,
because I
wow.
went through Top Gun uh, a year and a half after I joined my squadron.
Hmm.
And so my squadron tour was 3.5 years. They kept me an extra few months, blah, blah. Anyway, so it was almost 2 years after I finished the class that I returned as an instructor.
Yeah, 2 years. But you know what's nice is the monitor's not going to point at you and go, "Hey, we need a air liaison, no
Oh,
glow
that's true.
officer."
Yes.
You
Top
you knew you pretty much knew what you're doing going right down
Well,
the
it
street,
worked
right?
from both ends. Top Gun told the monitor, we called them detailers. Top Gun said, we want Dave Baranek, and I had written my preference card, said I want to go to Top Gun, and my CO wrote an endorsement letter, and so all the pieces were falling into place. Now, when I got there as an instructor, and at the end of the class, of the end of my first class as an instructor, they said, okay, we're going to have this meeting, and we're going to talk about who we want to come back.
Hmm.
You know, Light bulb came on. I go, oh, that's how it happens, and then, so, my first class, I didn't have much input, but pretty quickly you get up to speed as an instructor. And then I found myself able to, evaluate guys going through, and I was going, "Oh, this guy's a standout. We need to get him back as an instructor." I
Right.
mean, and, it was all 18 of us had to make the decision and discuss it. So it was an incredible environment.
Yeah, I mean, and when you got there, it was kind of like probably looking at an elephant. You've got to eat an elephant. How am I going to do that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, in terms of
You know,
all
we
the
said
knowledge and
we
stuff
said
that you had.
drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
All those analogies are valid. Um, the way you do it is personal commitment. I mean, you work long hours. New instructors, I think all of them work 7 days a week.
Right.
And I remember for myself, for a while, I was. Well, I'll talk about when I was at Top Gun. I would start at 7 a.m. and many days I'd work till 9 p.m. And that was certainly Monday through Friday. Saturday, maybe I didn't work a full 14 hours, and then Sunday I worked some. But this did only lasted for a few months, and then things evened out. And Taco, once again, I'm not looking for sympathy. What I'm telling you is this is the level of commitment it takes
Yeah.
to be a Top Gun instructor, because you can get out anytime you want. You
Right.
don't want to do this, they'll let you go
Hmm.
immediately. But the other thing is the guys that are there now as instructors,
Hmm.
I believe they probably put in more hours. They certainly, they adhere to the same standards or higher. And the reasons are that air warfare has become more complex,
Sure.
both friendly enemies and weapons and tactics, and threat weapons and tactics. So,
Well, your level of dedication definitely, was portrayed in this book, especially when I was reading, you're doing 2 or 3 hops a day, and then all of a sudden you're going over to Top Gun and you're in there practicing, researching, going to the lab, going to the library, practicing your pre-briefs,
yeah.
then waiting for your murder boards. So just a, amazing level of dedication you guys put into this.
And something else, and you're going to see this as we're talking tonight. I've lightened up a lot. I mean, that was 35 years ago. When I was
Uh,
there, I was very serious, and now I look back on it and I go, look, those guys are carrying the ball now, and so I tried to make it entertaining and tell some of the adventures and stuff like that. But I mean,
yeah.
one thing you're talking about this, I had a little trouble when I was putting together my tactics lecture,
Hmm.
and which was F-14 intercepts. I just I just needed to do a lot of work, and it was a whole new lecture, new concepts and things. And so one of the training officers, he said, "Bio, I've heard the guys that have seen your pre-murder boards. They say you're doing okay, but you got work to do." Blah blah blah. He goes, "I need to see your lecture this week."
Hmm.
And this was I think between Christmas and New Year's. And he goes, but the only time, or probably the week before Christmas, and he goes, the only time I can see it is Friday night at 10 o'clock. And you know what, Taco?
I'll be
I
there.
said, I'll be there. That's right. Because if I would have balked, he would have gone, what's the matter? You got something more important, or anyway, whatever. And
But you did. You had a squadron party.
well, my wife and I went to our squadron party for my old squadron, and then at
Right.
9 o'clock, I took her home, drove over to the Top Gun squadron, got it all set up, and gave my murder board, and we stayed there till 1 or 2, whatever. Anyway, it was,
That is cool.
but all the work, it paid off. I mean, by the time you're through the murder board process, you feel confident that you can deliver this lecture to any audience. So
Right. Well, I see the level of performance you guys do. Yeah, I know you had to stand in front of an audience for 2 hours. You get a 10-minute break, standard military, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and get a break.
yeah,
So for 2 hours, you're standing up there lecturing, not even turning around looking at your slides and having to have everything memorized and the questions memorized. I see the same thing as a check airman. I've got a buddy Smith. He's a buddy of mine, C-130 guy. He'll know what I'm talking about. But as a check airman at American, you're sitting there and you're expected to know everything. And I always said an ATOPS instructor only knew what he knew. Like he might be a pneumatics guy or fuel systems guy or
yeah,
electrical guy.
yeah,
But you've got to try to, and then you can't BS the guys either. I don't know it. Hey, you know what? I've got your employee number. I will find the answer out and start calling my mentors up, get the answer, get the page number, show you in writing, send it to you, which gives us a little more credibility. But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
that, and the whole military aviation community is like that. At Top Gun, it was matters of tactics and matters of some detailed questions about how certain missiles operated or something like that. But in the F-14 community, I mean, the F-14 fuel system was complex, with
right.
voodoo and magic and chewing gum, and I mean, it was a masterpiece of lightweight simplicity, but it had all these valves that had to work, and just so there's a lot of aviation. But Taco, whenever I'm talking to people about that, and I tell them, yes, it's serious, yes, you have to be able to do math real time and everything, I go, hey, the trade-off is you're flying around, Uncle Sam's paying the gas,
Right.
buying the gas. You're flying around with some of the most professional people you'll ever meet. It's just incredible. I mean, I know you flew C-130s, but I know you enjoyed flying that big beast.
Oh, it was
And
fun.
yeah,
Every single time. I never took leave because we're going to Hawaii, we're going to Norway, going to Iceland, going to Rota, Spain,
yeah.
Bermuda, Bahamas. Ooh, I want to.
So, it's yeah. So I mean, the rewards are there. It's
Well,
but they don't just give them away. You got to earn them.
sure.
Yes.
Well, between you're attending Top Gun, you go back to the squadron, and then you get teamed up. You're going out on a pump, and you get teamed up with the CO. I'm sure as a young JO, weren't you kind of like nervous, like, oh man, I'm with the old man. I hope I do all right. And if I do all right, maybe I'll get a good fitness report. But you're
Okay.
like,
So
I can't screw this up.
I hate, you're doing a good job. You're close, but and I don't want to nitpick you, but I did flew with the CO before I went through Top Gun. Okay.
Oh, okay.
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 And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I still talk to this guy. He's a nice guy.
Hmm.
I was not real happy about being assigned to fly with the Squadron CO, because he is like, the highest level of adult supervision you could get. And I'm sitting there thinking, here I am, a Lieutenant JG Rio, just out of the rag, finally in the fleet after 2 years of grade sheets. I want
Yeah.
to get out there and have some fun, rage around and break some
Yeah.
rules and all that. So I get assigned to fly with the Squadron CO. But he turned out to be a nice guy, an interesting guy. uh, I did not think about fitness reports. I mean,
Sure.
I didn't think about that. I definitely wanted to do a good job, but I was just conscientious like that. So
Well, you know what I would think about? I'd be thinking about on that dark, stormy night. Who's liable to get me back on the ship?
that's right. He had like 200 or something combat missions in Vietnam in F-8
Sure.
Crusaders, and he had a tour with the Blue Angels. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he could
Who's likely?
handle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's got the handle on the pressure to get
Yeah.
you back on the boat in the
Yep.
middle of a dark, stormy night? The CO.
So
But then again, flying with the CO has its benefits because you do golfer hours. You're not getting. Hey,
oh no,
give the late night stuff.
we sat in early morning alert.
Did you?
I think at least one. I don't.
I went through C-130 trading, and this Fulbright colonel comes in. He's going from F-15s to C-130s in the Guard in like Alabama, and
Yeah.
nobody wanted to be paired up with it. We're all first lieutenants. Nobody wanted to be paired up with the old man, and so I got chosen. So I got him, and he goes, literally, he goes, "Hey, Bob, tell you what, give all the late night stuff and that early morning junk to these guys. I want to be done by so and so to be on the golf course by so and so. They're going to work. Oh, Colonel, yes, sir, no problem. I'm like, you know what? I kind of like flying with the old man. And then this guy's teaching me stuff. I mean, it was great.
Oh, that's
So,
good. That's good. Yeah.
so I like that. But you did have a story. Complacency will kill you.
Yes.
And I read the story about your ejection, and you conveyed that really well because you kind of get into a false sense of security lull. What happened when you came in on the
Okay,
boat that night?
so let's talk about so those are two different things. So the ejection and the complacency thing. Those are like opposite ends of the spectrum. So let me talk about the ejection first.
Uh huh.
When we had our ejection, we were in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We were on deployment or pump, as you say. I'd been in the squadron about 6 months, maybe another month. I was kind of a new guy. We came into land. Everything was normal. We had, it's not like there's an indication that we might have a problem, right? It's totally normal. We come in, we land. As soon as we catch the cable, uh, we could feel it release.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a normal trap. And so normally in a trap, you go from 134 knots down to zero in about 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
So things happen quickly, but you've got that 2 seconds. So this time, caught the cable, it tugged and then it released. And so we're rolling down the flight deck, and I'm thinking, oh man, do we have to eject? So I got I don't know if you can see it back there, but I got my ejection handle on the shelf. I try to point to it.
Oh, yeah. I see it underneath the F-14 there. Yep.
I had my hand on the lower handle. That was reflex.
Uh-huh.
And as we're rolling down the flight deck, I've got, my mind's going a million miles an hour. Have you ever been in a car accident or anything where you have time
Slow. Yeah.
distortion? Yeah. And we get to the end and the pilot goes, eject. So he said, eject twice.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as he said that first E, though, I pulled because I knew what he was saying. So the seats fired. We landed in the water. The plane sank. I got tangled up in my parachute. But while I was in the water, I started to do things without even really thinking about them. One thing that I did was I remembered all my training in Pensacola. So
Mhm.
you C-130 guy, you still did water survival, right?
Yep, did water. I did the ejection seat. I had to go through everything because we went to
Oh, yeah.
training in
Yeah,
Corpus.
training in jets. Yep. Okay, so that the time that you're in the pool, in the parachute, they tell you what to do. All that came back automatically, and
Mhm.
and that was stuff. I mean, we didn't discuss that before every flight. If you have to eject, do this. I mean, there was brief comments about emergencies, but it was just training that came back in play. Released my fittings, got tangled up in my chute, started to think about my what they taught us in Pensacola. Needed to pull out my switchblade. So the good thing was my squadron. I'm prepared. My
Uh-huh.
squadron had some conscientious guys, and we did a lot of blindfold checks or just equipment checks.
Mhm.
So we'd be dressed in our flight gear. They go, "Where's your flashlight?
Oh,
Oh, it's
wow.
right here. Where's your radio? Right here. Where's your shroud line cutter? It's right here." So when I needed my shroud line cutter, I pulled it right out of my pocket.
Uh-huh.
Tried to use the safety tip. It didn't work. So I went to pop the switchblade, and it was duct tape closed. So I had to use the
Oh.
end of my thumbnail to find the end of the duct tape, peel it open. Let's see, pop the switchblade, and I went to cut the
Oh.
shroud lines, and this is a sharp switchblade.
Uh-huh.
It cut all the lines, and I'm sitting there going like, "That's cool. I needed that because I'd only been in the water about 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
carrier went by, my F-14 was floating. I mean, it's just this is just to me, uh, it's just amazing to think back and recall all this, even though
Right.
this happened in 1981. So it's like 39 years ago. I can think back like it was yesterday.
Was your ejection right on the parameters of the seat?
Yeah,
I mean,
I got one swing in the chute basically. My
wow.
seat went up because my seat came out after the plane started to fall off the flight deck.
Hmm.
So there's a photo of the plane going at the end of the angle, and the canopy is still on. So we're still in the plane. And
Yeah.
it went over and it just dropped like a rock. Then my seat came up and my chute opened just before I hit the water.
If you hadn't ejected, would you have survived that, you think?
That there was an article in Approach magazine, like a couple of months or a year later, pure coincidence. And they said, think about it. You're falling in a sitting position 60 feet. And when you hit the water, you don't go splash. It's like
Yeah.
hitting a concrete surface.
Right.
So think about if you want to be,
How many 20 G's maybe? Probably,
I don't
probably
know,
would have
you
broken
might,
your back then.
yeah. So, uh, we're glad we ejected.
Yeah.
The pilot, he didn't get a parachute because the plane continued to fall, tilted left. His seat went skipping across the water, but he
Oh,
survived. And
yeah.
good health.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the airplane floated for like what, 3, 5 minutes or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So if you want an F-14, guys, go out to the Indian Ocean. It's sitting on the bottom somewhere.
I got the Latin long in the book. I've got it
Yeah.
written in there. I don't remember what it is, but the water's 14,000 feet deep. So good luck.
Yeah, it's sitting down there with a MH 370 777 somewhere,
I
probably.
thought about that when they were looking for that Malaysian airliner. I was going, yeah, what if they find my F-14? Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
something? That
Well,
we're in a different part of the ocean.
you need to contact Google because Google's been running that drone back and forth across the ocean, and they're finding all sorts of stuff, right? And
Okay.
they just like they discovered the Marine Corps dumping all these barrels of waste off the coast of California, off Camp Pendleton, out there.
Oops.
Yeah, they discovered it. I mean, this stuff got dumped in the ocean years ago, but hey,
Ah,
it's there
well.
now. Yeah, yeah, old news.
So
Fish have three eyes.
the ejection was, you've dealt with flight emergencies. I hate emergencies that take a long time where you're doing
Right.
troubleshooting, you don't know how it's going to end and all that. The ejection was a dramatic, I mean, it was a life or death event, but it
Hmm.
was like it happened. The decision was made in seconds, and then we're just, on the downside of it, it was awesome.
Well, it's kind of funny though. In the book, it sounded like you were coming in. Okay, you're kind of past that danger zone, and all of a sudden,
Oh yeah.
I wonder what's for dinner tonight. And
Yeah.
oh,
I remember thinking that. Yeah. I was starting to let down, but and that's another difference between a pilot and a Rio. I mean,
uh-huh,
sure, as a Rio, I have a vested interest in that carrier landing,
right,
but I'm not the guy up there driving. And I admit that the pilot is up there driving, and so the hardest part of the flight is the last part of the flight for him.
right,
So okay. So you mentioned complacency earlier. That was a real eye opener for me uh, when I came back to the fleet after Top Gun. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I already had a fleet tour. I had an ejection in my background. I had
yeah,
2.5 years as a Top Gun instructor, which was, I mean, that's challenging and demanding. You perform at a high level all the time, and
hmm,
you've got other Top Gun instructors watching you. If you don't do it right, they will let you know.
hmm,
So it's really demanding. It's not like, oh, you're in the club, good enough. No, it's like, this is our standard. You meet this, Okay. So anyway, after all that, I go back to the F-14 fleet, and I felt pretty comfortable. And this pilot I flew with, he had already been a Phantom pilot and had done a tour as a training command instructor. So
hmm,
he had a lot of responsibility and experience.
hmm.
And we both come back to an F-14 squadron, and we're feeling, good about ourselves, comfortable in the airplane. Well, we had a couple of minor incidents, and he was just thinking about him, and he goes, "Bio, we're complacent." And I go, you're right. I didn't go, "What do you mean, asshole?" I go, "Yeah, you're right. We are."
Yeah, you had enough hours, enough experience to be dangerous,
Yeah.
past the danger of fear of, oh my God, you're always watching everything. Now you get complacent. And
And
we
so,
all do, I think, sometimes as aviators. Sometimes it's like jumping in your car. You're not thinking about something. You back into the
right.
pole that you just saw. You're like,
Exactly.
how did I do
Exactly.
that?
Good analogy. Yeah.
Not that I would ever do that, but
No.
maybe the well in my backyard or driving my
You heard
tank.
of somebody doing that.
I think my wife did it. Ran into a,
Ouch.
a mailbox and it broke the window out of the back of the car. But I
She
know
doesn't
I've
watch
done it
it.
too.
She doesn't watch this, does she?
No, she doesn't. I'd be
Okay.
sleeping on the couch tonight. But in her defense, it was dark, and in my defense, when I hit a mailbox, I was backing up, and sure enough, it was dark, rainy, and 4 o'clock in the morning. So it was all
Could
my
happen to
fault.
anybody.
That's it. But hey,
Okay.
did I?
I can't talk about my wife's driving because she and I went to a luxury automaker invited us to do a road course that was set up in a stadium parking lot.
Uh-huh.
And the guy who was sitting there with you, he's encouraging you, come on, faster, come on, going
Yeah.
driving around all these cones and everything. And my wife was faster than me. And I'm going like, well, okay, I'm impressed.
She's good.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, did I ever? I tell you, I did not go to Top Gun.
Right.
You know, these. My uncle had the jackets. It's funny. All the Navy guys had the jackets with all their patches on it, and they would say it was where I've been patch.
Yeah.
Oh, I was in this squadron. I got Centurion hours. Well, I've got one good deal after another,
Oh,
Marine
that's good.
Corps,
I like that one. Yeah.
and then have
I
not.
remember seeing that. That I did not go to Top Gun. I
Oh,
remember seeing those. Those are funny. I saw those in the fleet. Oh yeah, Tailhook 91.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, you got to have a little fun, right?
Sure. Now that you're retired and you can, after
When I
all
was
the years of keeping your hair cut and your shoes polished, it's like take look.
yeah,
That's it.
well,
Enjoy it.
when I was in the fleet, you mentioned in the book when you guys went on cross country, you wear the flight suits, you wear the jackets, and somebody got to meet Billy Joel
Yeah.
um, at one of
Now,
your.
now we most of the time we were not supposed to do that, but this guy was feeling frisky, so he wore his flight suit and he met Billy Joel and Chrissy Brinkley.
Hey, there are benefits to that, right?
Yeah.
Did he get into the free tickets to a concert or anything?
I don't think so. No, it's not like they became Christmas card friends or anything like that. It's just that it was, in the months after the movie Top Gun came out. I'm thinking back to when it
Yeah,
happened. And, just purely by chance, he went on across country to near where they lived
yeah.
and, uh, and happened to be in the same restaurant. So, yeah.
Well,
When he told us that, we all go like, huh, interesting. It's like, okay, whatever. With Taco, we were Top Gun instructors. It's not, I say this, but it's like we're not going to be impressed by some celebrity as
yeah,
far
but you never know what opens the door every now and then. It's kind of funny. My
maybe we
boss.
should maybe we should have been more impressed. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're professionals. You guys were professional, quiet birdmen.
There you
But
go.
when I was in the fleet, you couldn't wear your flight jacket. You couldn't if you wore your flight suit and your flight jacket home, you could stop and get gas, but then you had to go straight back to your house and go get changed. And then I go on recruiting duty, and my CO one day goes, "Hey, where the hell's your flight jacket?" I go, "What do you mean, sir?" Because we're wearing our deltas. He's a full-bird colonel, and he goes, "Don't you aviators, you guys all got that leather flight jacket, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Where the hell is it?" Well, sir, regulations, we're not allowed to wear that thing off base and stuff. He goes, "Taco, God, ABC, always be closing. If a kid comes up to you in the supermarket while you're buying milk and eggs and goes, 'Gee, mister, I watched that movie Top Gun. Are you a pilot?' Why, yes, I am." And then you're talking to his mom, and then you're talking to his older brother who, oh, by the way, happens to go to, University of North Dakota's in the flight program. "Hey, Johnny, come here. Let's talk." So for 3 years, I wore the flight suit everywhere. I wore the jacket. I was the only aviator in the entire Midwest running around. So it was stardom. It was pretty cool.
Okay, that makes up for you. You probably never heard about this, but I don't know what the makeup of your audience is, but there's probably a variety of people, and they may have a hard time believing this. But in the early 1980s,
Mhm.
you could not wear your flight suit through the gate to Miramar. You had to
Really?
either come through the gate in uniform, khakis, blues, whites, whatever,
Mhm.
or civilian clothes. And so what we all did was we wore our flight suits and untucked them, wrapped them down around your waist. But
Right.
the gate guards were instructed. I mean, these guys have to follow orders. They were instructed to look in cars, and if they spotted somebody in a flight suit going through the gate,
Right.
they had to stop him, find out what squadron he was in, and we heard that his CO would have to spend, an hour or 2 hours at the gate looking at people coming through as punishment for the
Oh.
junior officer. I mean,
Oh,
that's kind
that's
of
miserable.
BS but this was in the early 80s, and someone thought that was a good idea for discipline or uniform or something.
And you didn't have to do that, thank God, when you were a CO. That was out the window, wasn't it?
When I was a CO in 1996 to 98, I was a skipper 97 to 98. No, I think we could wear flight suits off base by then, something like that. I
Yeah.
don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like wearing camis or a flight suit. You could stop and get gas. You couldn't go in the store.
Yeah, I remember those incremental rules like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
But
crazy. I mean,
yeah.
from when I joined in 86. All right, so I was telling you earlier like 9/11, I know where I was 9/11. I just got done flying from New York doing the Toronto shuttle, and the next morning 9/11 happened. But on a positive note, May 16th of 1986, Andy Bircher, who was a Naval Academy buddy of mine, had asked my sister to go to the rain dance. So my mom and I drove Susan up to Annapolis, dropped her off. Now we're like, what are we going to do? Oh, let's go eat dinner. So we ate dinner. Now what are we going to do? Hey, this movie called Top Gun came out, and I don't know if you remember, there was really no trailer. It was just the Top Gun emblem. It was like Kelly McGinnis, Tom Cruise, you know, Top Gun, and it kind of had some music. So we went to go see that, and there was maybe 200 midshipmen in the ice cream suits there, and they're all watching the movie, and But I walked out of that theater just the cinema, the on the big screen was to die for, and the
Oh yeah.
music and the airplanes and the cinematography. Yeah, that was
this
it.
is the casting, the West Coast benefit premiere that we went to. Here's my wife's favorite picture. When I was writing this book, she goes, "You better put that picture in there." That's her kissing Tom Cruise at the party. But there's what we did for the Top Gun premiere in San Diego.
Yeah, all dressed up. I love it.
Yeah, we got dressed up and rented limos, and in San Diego, a lot of squadrons at Miramar put on their whites and went
Uh-huh.
to the theater. So the theater was, full of military guys.
Well,
Um,
now the
it was
audience
fun. I
probably
mean, it was
doesn't know.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the audience doesn't know what a life. All right, what a life game changer you guys did when you produced that, or when you helped make that movie, unbeknownst to you. If you had kept a couple items, they'd be worth like hundreds of
Oh
thousands of
yeah.
dollars now,
Yeah.
or taking photographs. But when when you wrote in the book that you tried to make it as realistic as you could, even though I know what Hollywood does. Uh, don't worry, man. Only only 1% of the nation that watches this movie is going to see that detail. And
Right.
you're like, "Yeah, but I'm part of that 1%. All my buddies are going to be giving me grief." Yeah, well, it's Hollywood.
And yeah, Tony Scott said it's not a documentary. I mean, and I got over it. I mean, we made our little, we helped them. First I got to give Paramount, I got to give the whole production team
Mhm.
credit because they asked for our help uh, at every step along the way with the raw script, with filming, and with post production. They requested our assistance and they listened to what we said, as much
Mhm.
as they could. And then when we made our little protest, like you just said, I said, Tony, that F-14, you can see the camera pod on it. If you look closely, you can see the external camera pod. He goes,
Right.
Rio, nobody's going to notice that. You're the only guy that's well, so I didn't. It's not like you're going to make a big deal out of it. It's like,
Right.
okay, I said my part. And then, if a year later, whatever, 8 months later, the movie comes out, it's a big hit. It's like, okay, I guess these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
created a success.
Well, how much did like they come into the studio to watch you guys in the classroom or in action? like the beginning scene where everybody's sitting around. Tom Skerritt comes in, gives his little introduction. I know you all, as instructors, would line up and do your intro, but how much did they take of the real life and put that?
Well, the Tom Skerritt thing, that's moderately that's resembles reality. At the beginning of the Top Gun class,
Yeah.
all the instructors were lined up in the back of the classroom. Again, I went, I would this goes back to 1982 to 87, which was my close exposure to Top Gun. But the all the instructors lined up at the back, and then the skipper comes up, and he's got a lightning and thunder presentation. It gets everybody pumped up, which, I mean, they don't need it. If
Hmm.
they're at Top Gun as students. If they're
Sure.
not pumped up already, they're in the wrong business.
Right.
So, but this is just to get them even more pumped up. And so, that part of it was semi-realistic. Um, but then, then it goes off the rails quickly. The idea that a guy has a good flight and he's going to buzz the tower. Well, that'd be his last time in a Navy airplane.
Yeah.
Uh,
That that's probably the only time that anybody ever did that. I mean, that I'm sure they did sometimes, but or did
I,
something stupid, fly
I
low.
had a
But
guy tell me that a long time ago he did that, but I mean, I can tell you the stories I heard from guys at Miramar in the early '70s.
uh-huh.
It seemed like the Wild West out there. I could just imagine.
Would they let any of you guys sit in as extras in the back or any of those scenes
What, for the
where you
scene? Oh
guys?
yeah, yes, they did. They invited us to come be extras for filming the movie. They
Uh huh.
invited the Top Gun instructors, but they said if you're going to the set, you've got to be there for 2 days.
Right.
We didn't have 2 days. We were teaching a class. I
Wow.
need to look at my schedule and see, but we were teaching a class, and everybody goes, I don't have time to go sit around a movie set all day. And they go, and I mean, I remember my thoughts. It's like, whatever, big deal. Oh well. But some of the guys that are in the that are extras were like RAG students,
Uh huh.
uh, student F-14 pilots and student F-14 Rios, who later we saw in the fleet. And I know some of those guys today. Their faces are in some of the scenes of Top Gun, because as RAG students they had a more flexible schedule. They could go hang out at the set and stuff like that. So.
Well, somebody had asked, did Smegs really sing behind Tom Cruise? Was he really singing, or did they tell them to be
No, I
quiet,
think
or
that's him singing. I think
was he really singing? Ah, you
you'll
have
have
to
to
ask
ask
him.
him yourself when you talk to him some more. So, you know,
Yeah.
okay, Smegs is John Semkin. In case your audience isn't sure, he's listed in the credits as Navy liaison officer. And I'm going to say this: I remember, and he's a former F-14 pilot and had gone through the Top Gun class as a student.
Mhm.
And he was getting out, and he got assigned to do this as hey, before you leave, you got to work on this project.
Right.
And he did a fantastic job. He put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. He handled millions of little details. I mean, he made the Navy look good because he was such a good guy working on this thing, and he helped to make it a better picture.
Well, let's
Uh,
talk about that. So when you guys, I mean, this kind of jumping forward, but when you guys got done with the movie, or when they got done with the filming, you and Smegs went up to Hollywood, right?
yeah,
So tell them about that.
uh, the they they sketched out a lot of the dialogue. They worked with guys like Viper Pettigrew, and I've talked to a couple of other guys who said they helped write the dialogue for the movie.
Mhm.
So you have a screenplay, you got all this dialogue, what the actors say, and all the scenes and everything, and they had also written a lot of dialogue for the flying scenes. But the way they, as I recall, the way the flying scenes turned out, they said we liked them so much. We're kind of making them fit the story and all these other things. They said we've got a lot more flying scenes than we expected, and we don't know
Mhm.
what people are going to say. So somebody at Paramount said, "Hey, we need people up here to help us write the dialogue." Well, Smegs was a natural because he was a former F-14 pilot, who's very recently.
Mhm.
And then one of my projects at Top Gun was as F-14 intercepts. I dealt with communications,
Uh-huh.
radio com, ICS com. So Rat Willard goes, Bio, you and Smegs are going up to Paramount this afternoon, to help them for a couple of days. He goes, go home and pack and get down to the airport. We'll have a ticket for you and all. Anyway, so this is back in the day. You could do stuff like that. So we flew up there. This young girl in a Paramount Picture station wagon picked us up at, I think it was John Wayne Airport, is Burbank.
Burbank.
Yeah. And the first place she took us was over to this hangar where they had the cockpit mock-up. And this was,
yeah. But they put the actors in, right? Did they make one for the A4 or just the F-14?
I think there's only one, but I'm not certain, but I think there was only one. Well, and the reason they did this was because they had taken film of the actors in actual F-14 back seats, but all the actors got sick except Anthony Edwards. All the others got sick and they could not use any of the film. Because a guy who's sick in the back seat going like this, trying not to barf, does not look like a real fighter pilot or RIO.
Yeah.
So they made this mock-up, and we looked at the mock-up, and they had gotten a cockpit. I got a NATOPS manual here, but they had gotten a cockpit diagram from the NATOPS manual, and the guy made all these switches and labels and stuff, and he did a good job. He had like
was it pretty realistic? I mean, did you sit in it and go?
I didn't climb in it. I don't think. I stood there and looked at it from the outside. And as I recall, he couldn't decipher some of the labels, so he wrote funny things, like toaster or something for a few of them. But
Right.
I've never looked on the film to see if that's in there. Okay, so we looked at that. Then we went right over to Paramount Studios, and we go in, and it's the place where they make the movies is very similar to a Squadron hangar. It's kind of functional, it's got plumbing lines and electrical conduits and stuff, and offices are thrown here and there. We go in there, we start to work, and as soon as we got there, here's the sad story: Art Scholl had just been killed filming scenes for the movie. Yeah, in the spins. So the director Tony Scott dealt with that, and he dealt with that, very personally and very effectively. He was sincere. It was very nice. And then he goes, okay, we need to get away from this for a while. So we walked over to the Paramount movie theater, which was a beautiful theater, and we looked at the outtakes of the guys flying, and they were really funny. Some of the actors showed up. Taco, I wish I either had made notes or had a camera. I don't have any idea who was there. I just remember it was like 3 or 6 of the actors were there.
And was there any dialogue playing on the video, or it was just pictures?
Raw footage from the camera of them flying in the F-14. And I think a lot of it's on the internet now, or some of it's on, a DVD special effect or something like that. I mean, a DVD special edition that shows making the movie. So then we went back to the editing room, and they showed us the raw flying footage, and Smegs and I are looking at it, and they said, well, we've kind of cut it together, but we don't really know what we're doing and stuff. And the clearest example I remember was they showed an F-14 doing a loop, and it went up like this, and then the next segment, it came down like this. So it goes up and comes down.
Right.
And I go, wait a minute. If it goes up like this, it's got to come down like this,
They turn it around, flip it around.
No, they had another segment. We go, so use this one. But to their credit, the editor goes, oh, anyway, I mean, but that, that's why they brought us, this guy does film editing for 98% of the world, but he doesn't know air combat. So so we're piecing together the story, and we've got to figure out some things, like, why are they flying so low? And Smegs and I talked about this. I think we're the guys that introduced the breaking the hard deck. And they had to go back and film the dialogue because they hadn't thought of that. That wasn't in the original story. But no, I mean, I wish I had notes to say that. But we worked with them about a lot of things. And then after we got a passable series, and I'm making my hands go back and forth because that's what the editing machine did.
Right.
We're looking on this editing machine, and we're I don't remember how it worked now, but we learned how to run it back and forth and how to mark segments and told them to cut it. And then they go, okay, give us a few minutes and cut it. We'd watch it again.
Oh, wow.
And then we started talking. They said, okay, what we really need is the dialogue.
Mhm.
So, it's,
Two guys sitting there jaw jacking, having
yeah,
fun. Okay,
George,
this is what. All right, let's just pretend we're in the cockpit. So blah blah blah.
yeah,
Watch
I
the
go,
mountains.
that's right.
That was you,
That was me. I said that in an actual flight, watch the mountains. But
but it made it into the film. How cool is that?
well, there was another guy. There was a guy at Miramar who Sobes, I think, used to actually say, do some pilot shit. If he
Uh-huh.
was out there with the pilot, he would say that, if whatever in an engagement, if they got defensive or whatever. So a lot of those sayings were from guys at Miramar.
Right. Well, when you guys did, all right, so you guys did the editing, and that got the ICS, and that got the dialogue, um, kind of realistic. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
fairly real, probably a little bit too much chatter, but realistic enough that a novice or a non-pointy nose guy would go, "Wow, that's actually, yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool." I mean, I love. Except, did you
And
ever do the Exorcist turns? Were you able to
oh
do
hell
that?
yeah.
Like,
Are you kidding me? That was yeah. You know, you, as a Rio, you've got one of your main things is defensive lookout.
right,
And so you grab that ACM handle up there and turn around like that. And plus the other thing is, I was 24, 26 years old. You can
right.
do that
You're a little
stuff.
more flexible, sure.
Yeah. Turn around like that. And you'll notice I'm not turning to the right because I, I pinched something years ago. Anyway, oh yeah, you could do all that. I mean, you just did what it took to
Well,
to get the job done.
well, did Anthony Edwards take a cue from you because you used to wear a mustache? So because I saw the picture of you two together, I thought, God, you guys could be brothers.
Everybody says that. I don't see it, but okay. No, no, a lot of guys at Miramar wore mustaches back then. A
Yeah,
lot of yeah. No, I can't claim to have influenced the movie very much. I mean, Smegs and I, even doing the com thing, that was standard com. So
right.
it's not biocom.
But it was good. It was good.
Well,
Somebody had asked about the black jets. And they painted them. What material did they use on that paint? I heard they had to do touch ups or something.
oh, they did touch ups all the time. They the way the jets got turned black is that as we're looking through the script and talking to the production people, we said, okay, we need some jets to represent the Top Gun instructors,
Mm.
and we need some enemy jets. And so, Navy, what should we do? And so Navy goes, Top Gun, what should we do? So we all talked about, okay, we knew about the 4477th. Do you know what the 4477th is? The secret MiG squadron that's now declassified. So
Mm.
if you don't know, oh man, dude, write those numbers down and look them up.
All right.
4477. Okay. So those are the MiGs that the Air Force operated in the desert.
Oh, okay,
Way
okay.
back
So
then, yeah.
you had the Russian dude and you had the Cuban guy that came over.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So we knew about all those and we go, well, no, we can't use those in the movie. And we didn't talk to the Paramount people. We just talked among ourselves. So I go, okay, what we got is the F5 and the A4. And we just agreed the F5 looked more sinister. So
Hmm.
okay, so the F5 is going to be the MiG, and just to make clear that it's the bad guy, it's going to be painted black. And so Paramount, said, okay, give us, tell us how many jets you want to paint, set them aside, and we'll paint them over the weekend.
Uh-huh.
And so Monday morning, we come in and four of our jets are black, three of the single seat F5Es and one two-seat F5F. And so, I mean, Taco, I see this on the internet. People say, oh, it's a T-38. No, it's an F5F,
F5E, F5F, right?
F5F and F5Es. And so the paint, it was kind of flat. I mean, okay, I'm looking at my computer right now. It wasn't really matte, full flat paint. It had a little bit of gloss to it, but so maybe it was like
Mhm.
semi-gloss or something.
Uh-huh.
And it was supposed to be easy to apply and easy to wash off. And one of the results of that was kind of blew off sometimes or wore off during flights. And so, yeah, every day they would have to touch up. Sometimes a big panel would peel off, other times
Uh-huh.
just a little patch would peel off. But the special effects guys or the whatever they call those guys, they didn't mind. That's what they do. Those
Yeah.
guys are also very dedicated and professional. You know, they the sound guy is an expert on setting his microphones and stuff. And I mean that's how you get to work on a big movie. You
Right.
know your stuff.
So you're sitting there trying to stand out, right? You had to think about rolling your sleeves up. Hey, mom, look, that's me on the screen because I'm the guy with the sleeves up.
So,
You should put a Top Gun patch.
yep, yep. So they before we manned up, they said, okay, uh, put on a black flight suit, get a black helmet, and that way any film that was taken on any of the flights could be traded with any other film.
Sure.
So I'm flying out there on my first flight to film scenes for the movie, and I go, oh, I want to make myself stand out. So I rolled up my sleeves so my forearms would stick out.
Uh-huh.
And we're flying out there, and somebody on the Learjet goes, "Hey, Rio in the F5, put your sleeves back down." Like, okay, busted. So, the one scene that I do think is me is in the back seat of the F5 when they're communicating,
Right.
because I remember, I mean, I filmed that. Another Rio or another F5F also filmed that, but I think they used mine.
So
So
so what did they do? 3, 2, 1. Look up.
look up,
Ah!
yeah. Well, the funny thing was that so they said, yeah, you brief all these things. We briefed the flights very carefully,
Right.
uh, because nobody wanted to get killed filming a movie. And they also, the admiral told us, they go, look, if you guys damage any aircraft, we're shutting it all down. And I
Right.
mean, we didn't want to break any airplanes anyway. There's no need to do that. So we briefed everything in detail. So they told us, okay, before we start, all the multi-airplane things, we're going to fly the Learjet out there, and F5 just come up next to it on the right side, and we'll film this scene where you're surprised. And they explain the
Mm.
whole premise to us. So we pull up alongside the Learjet, and Tony Scott's on there, and he's going, all right then, 3, 2, 1, look up.
And if
So
you got a mask on and your visor down, so
yeah, mask on, visor down, strapped in, helmet on. So I look up and he goes, okay, remember, you're surprised.
yes.
Whatever, man. So so we filmed, like 3 times. Then he goes, okay, good, good.
Well,
With his
when you
British
guys
accent. I can't really do a British accent right now. So yeah.
when you guys did the flyby, I know that they had to move it closer and closer because you would just be a speck out in the sky when you
Yeah.
guys were doing your stuff. But could you hear the F-14 go by? I mean, were you able to hear that? You were that kind of
Well,
that close?
when when we did our normal flying, we stayed 500 feet from other airplanes.
Hmm.
That was the safety bubble, 500 feet. And then, I mean, if you're in formation with a guy, if you get in real close, sometimes you can hear their engines if he runs up his power.
Hmm.
But most of the time in a dogfight, you don't hear other airplanes because you just don't get close enough to them. But when we were filming the head-on passes that they used, at the beginning of the movie and at the end, so
Hmm.
I got my F5 too.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was in the F5, and we briefed this thing. Oh man, I went the wrong way. And what we decided was that uh, the first flight, I mean, the first pass, we kept it like 500 feet just for familiarity,
Right.
because that's what we're familiar with. And the director goes, no, that's way too far. And he was smart enough to know, the cameras on the F-14, we would just be specks out at 500 feet. And plus, they were filming it from the Learjet flying alongside, and everybody was too small, too spread out. So we moved it into probably 300 feet,
Mm-hmm.
maybe something like that. And that was closer. And as we're setting up for this, uh, the pilot, our lead pilot, goes, hey, Tomcats, don't maneuver. He said, we will maneuver to avoid a collision. And the good thing is that you didn't want these guys coming in looking at each other from 5 miles, and the Tomcat going, "Oh, this is close. I'm going this way," and the F5 going, "Oh, he's too far. I'm going this way." Now,
Sure.
we told the Tomcats fly straight and level, and I
Hmm.
was in the back seat of the F5 with the flight lead Rat, and I stayed off the radio because I'm listening to him and I'm going, "Oh, that all sounds pretty good to me." So anyway, so the second pass, I don't think we heard him, and then the director goes, "Okay, nice, but do it again, closer." I'm going, "Holy mackerel!" So so we come in and we passed, I don't know, 100 feet. I should hold it up, or somebody should do the measurement on the film.
Right.
We passed very close to him though, and I could hear the F-14, and that was unusual to hear another jet, especially an opposite direction pass. But it looked good on the camera, so we got we got what they needed,
Did
and
that look
nobody got
great?
hurt. Yeah,
Now was Clay using that Learjet when you all were doing the fur ball with all the airplanes going around and around and around?
yeah, he was not in a fur ball. Oh, you know what those were? You know what those were? Where the airplanes were going around and around? I
Uh huh.
think if you could see the F-14, then you've got his Learjet up here,
Uh huh.
the F-14 behind it, and
Uh
he
huh.
told the F-14 maneuver in a cone behind me, and then the F-5s down below the F-14.
Oh, okay, okay. And then they were all spinning around, right?
Yeah, but then if they also had external cameras on the F-14 and internal cameras, and those would film engagements also. But the air to air footage was good. I thought
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
good.
it's
And like you
fantastic.
said earlier, you saw it on the big screen. And I remember when I saw it on the big screen, I'm going like, this is good stuff.
I'm telling you, man, you changed our lives. You don't realize it, but you're a god. There's an
I don't
entire
know about
generation. I'm 55. I got my flight contract before you made the movie. But after that movie, you remember I think C-130s and helicopters was 4.5 years after Wings, and Jet was 6.5 years. The
Yeah.
day Top Gun came out and all these guys were clamoring to get in, all of a sudden it was 8 years for helicopters and 10 years for jets. I mean, the Navy got their pound of flesh. So that movie paid off for them in terms of recruiting. They never had to recruit again for years because, I mean, they had so many
Yeah.
applications.
Well, I wonder if that's going to happen when Top Gun 2 comes out, because
Oh,
all
most
I
definitely.
hear year after year, I hear that the Navy and the Air Force can't get enough fighter pilots.
That's true. That's true. Working on the airline side, when I applied in '98, I got off active duty in '98. 25,000 applications, and I just happened to be blessed by God. I met this um, Bob Zablack, who was head of the mentor program for American, and Reb Stimson, who was a Marine, flew RVQ, whatever the heck they called them, DC-4s in the Marines, and he got hired by American. He took my application and gave it to Cecil, who was the chief pilot. The chief pilot went down, put it on top of a stack of 25,000 applications in HR, and said, "Give this guy an interview." So 2 weeks later, I get a call for an interview. I mean, God looks out for drunk idiots and Marines every now and then. But that's how I got
Amazing.
in, and that was 25,000 applications of guys. Well, in the last few years, as the airlines, we had the bankruptcy, we had the age 65, and a lot of guys didn't get out, so they stayed till 65. Now you have a lot of older. I mean, the average fleet age was, I think, pilot wise, was 53 and older. I mean, when I flew on the 777 78, I was the boy toy at 50 some years old, and the flight attendants used to laugh. He's 64 and a half, he's 62, he's 59 and a half. And how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 50. And they're like, you're the boy toy. I'm the youngin'.
Wow.
But so they were all retiring, and we were losing about 800 guys a year. So we got to fill those spots, and the recruiting is taking these guys out, and especially when you're looking at the deployment
Okay,
cycles the last
you're
18
talking about.
years.
So what are you talking about? You're talking about we got the military's losing 800 guys a
No,
year.
oh no, no, no. America, just my airline, all the
I
majors
do
are
not have any
losing.
sympathy for airline pilots. I'm sorry. The airlines, they can get their people I mean, I know a lot of your audience is airline pilots, but I'm concerned about the
Yeah.
United States Air Force, United States Navy not having enough fighter pilots.
Well, this movie will, I guarantee you, bring a whole new generation to bat
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
bear fruit. It will.
We'll
It will.
see.
I mean, I did 3 tours. I did 2 in Afghanistan, ground tours. Worked with the Afghan National Police. I was the air boss in Iraq.
Wow,
We
that's
as a
good stuff.
reservist, yeah, as a reservist, we all. I did a lot less than my compadres who, there were guys that did 7, 8 tours over there at 8 months a pop.
Yeah.
And I think guys were getting a little burned out, a little tired of the constant cycles, and so hence there was a exodus of people probably because of that. Um,
Yes.
but yes, to fill the ranks of the old guys that are leaving, this movie I think will do it. I think it will bring an entire new crop of kids who have never even seen the original one. My kids have because they were indoctrinated properly, but yeah, other kids, they're like, top what? Top
Hey,
top?
did you ever see it in 3D?
No.
The movie came out in 3D. This was just a few years ago. I don't even remember the year. And it was only shown at IMAX theaters and only for about like 1 week. And
Mm-mm.
so my wife and I went to see it, and I was skeptical. I go, well, you know what? I've seen this thing so many times, but I put the glasses on and I watched it on the IMAX screen in 3D. It was amazing. The
Uh-huh.
3D effect is very effective. The movie is totally restored. There's no specks or spots or anything.
Right.
I mean, it was beautiful. So
Oh yeah.
I wish they'd bring in Top Gun, the original Top Gun, out in 3D again at IMAX. Go see it if you
Oh,
can.
if they do, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'm actually talking with all my buddies. We're gonna rent a movie theater when the new one comes out. A movie theater that sells beer and pizza, and we're gonna go and Uber over, and we're gonna have a great time hooting and hollering. I can't
See,
wait to see these actors.
nobody did that for the first one because nobody knew what was
No,
coming.
no one knew. Right.
Now, all of us retired old guys are here, and it's like, oh yeah, let's go have a good time, and we can afford it.
Yeah. You got to have a good time. I guarantee it. And I love how Cruz has gotten to the point of stardom that he could dictate to the Navy, I want all the guys to fly in the back for the realism this time.
Yeah, that's
And the
good.
cameras have improved
Yeah,
that they could put cameras in there with them.
yeah.
But
Well, yeah, I did not have anything to do with the new movie, and I don't mind that. I mean, I had my time, and the guys that are out there now working so hard at Fallon as the Top Gun instructors, they're the guys that made this new movie.
right,
Uh, but so I don't really have much. I don't have any insight, but from looking at the trailers and some of the backstory and stuff, I got to give Tom Cruise credit for insisting that the actors uh, become comfortable flying. I guess they had to
sure,
do aerobatic flying or something
yeah.
before they even got in the F-18. And of course, as you said, they all rode in the backseat of the F-18. So he's trying.
Well, I was impressed because when I was first watching I was on my computer over here, and I was watching the trailer, and you see Tom Cruise, and all of a sudden the plane banks away, and I had heard Tom Cruise had demanded, that those guys all fly in the airplane. I thought, well, I know he's an accomplished pilot, but there is no way. I had to get on the net and to my F-18 buddies and go, okay, answer a question for a stupid guy.
Yeah,
Did the Navy really give Tom Cruise the keys to an F-18 to go out and fly? I know he's accomplished. He could do it. But did they really do it? And they're like, no, 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 Taco. That's a single seat. And when they've got him in the back, and then when he
yeah.
he he turns, they edit, Hollywood, and they edit, and
They
it's
put
a
his
single
face.
seat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it goes to a single seat. But I'm going, well, you fooled me. I mean, I don't know the differences between the structures on the wings and the pylons, and
Right. But you've heard that stuff. Some Hornet guys, Super Hornet guys saying, okay, this is a two-seater and blah, blah, blah. I was like, good.
right,
It's just the same thing that I was talking about, earlier. 99% of the audience won't know and they won't care. You
right,
know, look, it's not a documentary. It's a movie.
right, right.
Tom
And it's
Cruise
going to be Tom
actor,
Cruise.
not a fighter pilot. So
Oh, it's going to be good. I remember when.
I should be good. Yeah.
Do you ever see that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where
Oh yeah.
True
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 Lies.
Lies?
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So the squadron is down in Key West on debt, and it coincided with them filming the movie, and they had coordinated with the government to get the Harriers in there. Well, we went to go see that movie, expecting to see the guy that flew the jet down there, that was in the movie flying, standing there, and all of a sudden you see this young kid standing there in a flight suit, and come to find out he was a lance corporal from the Marine Reserve Unit in Miami. And the director goes, "That guy looks like a pilot. Put him in a flight suit." And the real Harrier dude, they're like, "What's the matter? No, you don't look like a fighter pilot. That guy looks like a fighter pilot." And they
Good.
put him in there, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, you got to sign for that jet." And we gave that guy so much grief at
I
the O
believe it.
Club.
I believe it.
Yeah. Oh, we gave him a lot of grief, but that was a great photo op for the Harrier, show its kind of capabilities. But of
Oh
course,
yeah.
not with the girl hanging on the side and guy with the machine gun in the
What?
back. Yeah,
What? They
no,
couldn't really
no.
do that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, in Cherry Point, they used to say, "What is this? That's a Harrier hovering," or no, that's a Harrier hovering pilot ejecting. I mean, when they had like 2 minutes of water to hover, and you'd be out there, and the student would screw it up, and all of a sudden that thing would just go boom. Not to make fun of any of my Harrier bubbas. I mean, that's a really incredible hard airplane to fly. You're a helicopter and a jet, so more power to you. I know that I know I'm going to get blasted by a couple of my Harrier bubbas on here, rightly, deservedly
Rightly so,
so,
exactly.
rightly so. I do have some questions.
Go ahead.
Somebody asked, and I know the answer, but I'll let you.
Okay.
Somebody asked about the hard deck. Is that a real thing when you're out there in Top Gun? The hard deck.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. There's two decks. There's a soft deck and a hard deck. And the soft deck is 10,000 feet above the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out over the ocean, it's 10,000 feet of altitude. If you're flying and the ground is 2,000 feet, then the soft deck is 12,000 feet. And so below the soft deck, there's no slow speed, high angle of attack maneuvering. So the dogfight can continue below the soft deck, but you've got to keep your knots up and stuff like that. And the purpose of this is for safety reasons, because if you depart the airplane or have a problem, you need, gravity takes over, starts to make the airplane fall out of the sky, and you've got to have time to make the control inputs and try to solve the problem. The hard deck is 5,000 feet above the terrain, and anybody that hits the hard deck, that they call that a rocks kill,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where the ground is for purposes of training. And so there's no flying below the hard deck. And so sometimes you would see an engagement, uh, especially a 1v1 or sometimes multi aircraft. The airplanes are going nose low to help preserve energy, especially F8, F4, F14,
Mm-hmm.
nose low to preserve energy, and they can only go down to 5,000 feet. So they're swirling around doing all kinds of maneuvers, and they get down near 5,000 feet, and you see a bunch of people flying horizontal circles at 5,100 feet uh, down there.
Because the computer system could see if you were below that.
Oh yeah, yep. The computer, the tax range computer, which was
Yeah.
an incredible system, but also I think I don't know if fighter pilots would turn themselves in, but if the Top Gun instructor or whoever was running the flight, if he saw you break the hard deck or break any training rule, that's a knock it off. And you
Right.
may set up another fight, or you may go home, depending on how bad the violation is.
So you couldn't pull the circuit breaker over on the panel to shut off power to the pod so you can get
Uh,
down there and get the shot, plug it
you
back
might
in
get
when
away
you're
with that. You
100
might
feet.
get away with that once in a while, but you couldn't do it all the time. But
Well, in the
the thing is, in the movie, they briefed this hard deck, soft deck, but then one thing about this movie is the director Tony Scott goes, "I do not want to film planes flying over my head. I
right.
want to film them at eye level." So that's why he set up on a mountain in Fallon, and he had them flying, by down the valley and all that. So totally illegal for real ACM. But
Hmm.
these planes that you're seeing on the movie are not doing ACM. They're flying scripted maneuvers, before the camera,
It looks good.
simulating ACM. And then as I said earlier, Smegs and I, you know, suggested this plot point.
Well, I always thought that was cheesy in the movie where, he's going for the hard deck. Go get him. And it's like, wait a minute. So the instructor's leading them below the hard deck and then has a hard on when he gets shot, you know? I
Yeah.
followed him just for a couple seconds. There was no danger, so I took the shot. You took the shot. Yeah. Yeah, I always laughed at that. Somebody asked if they really gave a Top Gun trophy at the end of the class, and Pete Maverick Mitchell said, "No, Haley, no trophy. They give you a certificate, right?
They do. They get. I should have my certificate out here. I do have it still, but
Do they give one out now that the movie kind of made it? Do they do it? Just
the movie came out when I was there. It came out, and I was still an instructor for about another year afterwards. The movie did not influence anything that we did,
uh-huh.
and the guys now, and an instructor explained this very well. The guys now are big about, you've probably heard this. Is there a $5 fine if people quote the movie? And he said, and yes, there is. And the reason is, he goes, look,
We're
we
not
are
Hollywood.
here in the deadly serious business of air combat and national defense. That movie was a Hollywood movie. Don't
Uh,
don't bring that into your flight brief and whatever. Okay, so um, they did make a Top Gun trophy for the movie to film the movie. You saw it
right,
in the film.
right.
And so when they were making it, they said, well, let's make it realistic. They got all these names and they go, who would have won the Top Gun trophy? They go, oh, the guys who were Top Gun instructors. And so they engraved our names on the little plates
Oh
on
no
there.
way! Where he goes, hey, there's two O's in Goose Boys on that
Well,
plaque
yeah,
in the
I
back.
think that's, or I don't remember where that is. There's two O's in Goose because he was dead when they awarded. Anyway, the
Yeah.
our names are on the Top Gun trophy, and so
Can you see it?
no, but that is another. You can't. That's another thing that I carried my camera all the time, and I wish I had had the foresight to go, oh, this is going to be cool one day. Click, but I didn't.
I was going to ask you about that. As a Rio, I remember my uncle was into photography as well, and would take most incredible shots on the deck and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
And in flight, he told me that you guys were issued cameras so that you could take pictures of Russian bears
we were.
and learn how to use photography. So is that where your passion kind of
No,
started?
I came into it. I think I got it from my dad. My dad was a moderate amateur photographer, but he just liked photography, and I just kind of picked it up as a
Right.
teenager. I had a nice camera when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I took all kinds of pictures, as you know,
oh yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Nice self shot too. That's hard to
Yeah.
do while you're
Oh, and an F5
to
cut.
get
An
to
F5
get
is
it
small.
focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asked, why do they say Roger Ball and what does that mean? What's the ball?
Oh,
He's
the ball is the visual landing system, optical landing system on the aircraft carrier. It's next to the landing area, and it's the pilot. Excuse me, the pilot or the Rio in a two-seater, but the guy coming into land calls the ball, and he says, there you go. Who is Roger Ball?
there you
Nice.
go, King.
And he'll say, the call back then was, something like 205 Tomcat ball 5.5. So that means you're in side number 205. You see the ball, and you
Hmm.
have 5,500 pounds of fuel. 205 Tomcat ball 5.5. And so the LSO is the one who said Roger Ball. That means he hears your ball call,
Hmm.
so everything's good.
But see, that's where it works too, where the guy is able to do the tension on the wire
Yeah.
for the weight of the airplane because he knows how much gas you have in the empty weight, right?
Well, he knows. Well, no, your max trap is the same, but he knows
Ah.
what kind of airplane you are. I mean, so there's all kinds of people around the ship monitoring all different aspects, and so
Hmm.
that's why you want to say the side number, the type of airplane, and all that stuff. But the other thing, Taco, is all that's like workups. You
Hmm.
you you leave that stuff behind very early in your fleet, and when you're on deployment, uh,
Hmm.
daytime ops are silent.
Oh,
You
really?
yeah, silent.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
night, there's not much talking at night. Oh yeah, radio. At least, I mean, at least when I was in, we would fly, and you would come back and you would say, I said 3 words on the radio the whole flight. You had to get an IFF check before you left the area of the ship.
Right. Well, what would they do? Flash you the green lens? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
marshaling.
They did. They not from the tower, but you looked at the ball, and they flashed the cut lights or something like that. They, any former pilots would go, "Bio, it was this," but they flash the lights to let you know that you're approved to come into land. Yes.
Really? I did
Yep.
not. I've never heard that.
Zipper.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're out there and you got Russian trawlers sitting there monitoring freaks and stuff like that, where they want to send some bad guys out in your direction, they don't know how many airplanes are up in the air, right?
Yep.
Hey, did you laugh when you first saw the beginning when the CAG or whatever that guy was, the bald headed dude, sweats a lot?
Yeah.
CICs I always thought were cold,
Oh,
but
freezing. Yeah.
he
All aircraft carriers are freezing.
he
Yes.
comes in, he's got, his wings right here, and then, he's smoking. Who's up there? Cougar Merlin, Maverick or Goosey. Great, Maverick or Goosey. He turns around, and then it's like he's got 6 rows of ribbons. His wings are up here. It's like, we're going to war, boys. Yeah.
This is going to be awesome. Well, on a carrier, especially after just a few months of working together,
Uh-huh.
a lot of people know the names of the pilots and Rios, now Wizzos,
Right.
but you know who's flying, and especially at certain names. I mean, if a person's extra good or has a problem landing, which there's not very much of that anymore, for various reasons, but names do mean something around the ship.
So is everybody sitting in the ready room watching the little camera thing? Ah, here comes Taco.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a 2-wire. It's
Yeah.
a 1-wire.
Yep. Yeah.
I can,
And they'll
I
go,
can
oh,
say,
watch, he's going to go low and close and then overcorrect. He does this all the time, or, whatever. I mean, I'm just
right.
making stuff up.
Well, I always joke. I mean, I'm a hooker too because I got the backseat hop in an A4 TA4 VT21, and that's where I got that. Somebody asked about that shirt, Roger Ball.
Yeah.
When the students their final carrier qual in the A4, we used the USS Lexington at the time, and I was dating the niece of the LSO, and he hooked me up with a ride. So I took leave for a week, drove to Kingsville every day, got suited up, go attend all the briefs, listen to the safety briefs, the whole 9 yards, and then I get kicked out of the seat. And then the last day, the CO, he's sitting there looking at the by the FDO's desk, and he's looking at the thing. He goes, "Who's this Bell guy?" And I'm like, "It's Lieutenant Bell, sir." And he goes, "You've been here all week, haven't you?" "Yes, sir. I'm trying to get out to the boat with Commander Shattuck." And he goes, "All right, go." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah!" So now I made it, right? And then we get out there and we launch and we go. And I have never been a guy that got sick, but when we landed on the carrier and the canopy popped and all the jet fumes and everything was coming in, and so the carrier is doing this. I mean, it's moving, and the jet fumes are coming in, and they do the hot refuel. Oh my God. I was like, I think I'm going to get sick. I might puke here. And then we taxi and we pull out. And I remember him talking about the cold shot. If you get a cold shot, eject is going to be the call, blah, blah, blah. And same, I've got my hands like right there. And the guy's doing his thing. They do the checks. And I remember he set like 3 or 4 units trim, and he put his hands up on the rails. He did his deal, and his hands were up there, and boosh, off we go. And my stomach goes, whoa! And I thought, oh my God, cold shot, cold shot, cold shot. Because all I see is the ocean. And we take off and we're diving towards the ocean. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. I'm riding it in. And I remember this guy had ejected. I was taking scuba lessons with him in a T2, and the back of his legs, that was like months before, were still bruised from that evolution of the T2. But I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then we caught the relative wind and climbed out. And I was like, oh, whew, I'm glad I didn't pull that ejection handle, because I would have been solo on that one. But yeah, that was a great experience. And what you guys do, hats off to you pointing those guys, because that is not easy. I mean, I'm sitting in the back seat too
You
dumb
know,
to you
it
know.
takes me back to my first carrier landing, and even though they, and maybe other Rios would hear this and they go, God, Bio, you were really behind or whatever. But they had us. We did all this qualification in the RAG. We did a lot of field carrier landing practice, bouncing, and then we went out to the ship. And despite all of that, I just remember how overwhelming it was when I actually had to do a carrier approach and carrier landing. And fortunately for me, I was flying with a pilot who had already completed a tour in F4s,
Right.
barnyard, a great dude, and he's upgrading to F-14s or converting to F-14s. And so he got us through it all. I mean, I had to do my part as a student Rio, but he was going to make sure all the important stuff got done. And so it was just overwhelming. And then a couple of weeks in my fleet squadron, I've got, a few traps under my belt, and I'm starting to go, oh, I'm starting to be able to keep tally on what's going on and contribute and stuff like that. So it's just
Well,
amazing what your brain can accommodate to. Go ahead,
oh yeah,
questions.
I got a question here. I'll pop it up on the screen.
Oh, nice. Aren't you technological?
How do you like that? Have read 2 of Bio's books. Good job. Hey, everybody, go order them on Amazon. You can get a 3-pack. It's a pretty awesome deal.
Yeah, that is nice. Amazon put together that 3-pack. I like this book, man.
You know,
Tomcat.
I like
Okay.
that book, and I wrote about this on the Top Gun page. This book to a novice, non-pointy nose guy is most well written, simplified terms of understanding what it was like for you to be in that seat. I mean,
Talking
well
about
done.
I can,
So easy a Marine could understand.
thanks. I did the writing, but I also have to give some credit to my editor, Dave Robinson, who was great to work with and polish
Well,
my words a little bit. Okay, so love to see him
much.
write another specific to leadership lessons, advice, and associated Navy stories. Thank you, Celia. Thanks for the encouragement. I don't know if there's another book, but I will keep that in mind thanks.
Yep. Let's see. Thank you for making the movie great. Big fan of the F-14. Got my A&P certificate south of Grumman. Saw the production line several times. Kevin, man, you're lucky.
That had to be cool to see the F-14 factory. That was cool. Good. Well, and
You know
you've
what?
had a life in aviation also with your A&P certificates. So
Hey, I see this one. I know who this guy is. This is my uncle. Big Bird Puking Dog. Because he
okay,
was
hey,
like,
Big Bird. Yeah.
yeah, he was like 6'6", 6'7". I don't know how he got in the back of the F-14.
Okay, so the comment, you never leave your wingman, that was something that the movie people picked up from being around Miramar, and they drove it into the ground. That concept that don't leave Iceman or whatever the hell it is. Yeah,
Right.
we did not really do that in the F-14 squadron I was in, and we certainly didn't teach that in Top Gun. But they thought, we got to make it dramatic and we got to make it simple. So that's what the never leave your wingman thing is.
Here's a good question. All of your carrier landings graded and how?
Oh
Or
yeah,
all of them?
the LSO, the landing signal officer, or landing safety officer. There's a group of guys that stand by the landing area, and they've received a lot of training. And there's a group of them, so they can supervise each other, and they watch planes come in and they evaluate every pass. And the overall purpose is for safety and consistency. A Navy
Right.
carrier has got to be able to have the planes land reliably and consistently without drama. And so these guys, if you always tend to fly fast, then they make comments on every single pass on specific aspects of it, and they look for trends. And if they find a trend, they tell you about it, and it's up to the pilot to fix it. So
Yeah, because I mean, you're a $30 million airplane. Ramp strike don't go well.
30, 70 million now,
Oh, it's just,
whatever. But not only
yeah.
that, but it's combat capability. If they can't get those planes on and off the deck reliably, then you don't have it. So
Hey, you know this guy, Pete Maverick Mitchell. Pete Mitchell.
paramount
Apparently,
indicator, I never heard that. So Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
that's kind of cool.
That was above my pay grade, Maverick.
Well, guys, do you have any other questions? We've got 50 people on here live hanging out for an hour and 25 minutes, which
Nice.
I'm impressed. I'm gonna have to start. Hey, I'm gonna have to start doing the Joe Rogan experience, and I'm gonna edit and do like 12-minute sound bites. You got time enough to hit the head, sit on the pot, and watch 12 minutes of bio talk about something, you know. So I'm gonna do that for you. I'm gonna start working. Your episode will be the episode.
Okay.
Do you
Thanks.
have Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to pass on, or any funny stories that you had when you were CO out on the boat? When you were the commanding officer, all right? Did your JOs ever mess with you or your XO?
Oh, heck.
Like put your house up
My
for
XO
sale
did.
when you're on leave, or
No, my
you
XO
know?
didn't mess with me, but my JOs did. You can't see it from this angle, but on my wall, I have a plaque that the junior officers gave me when I left the squadron, because
Uh-huh.
when I became the CO, they went up in the attic of my house to try to find some dirt on me, embarrassing pictures or maybe old love letters. I don't know. And one of them stepped through the attic, or stepped
Oh,
through the attic, put their foot through the ceiling. And so they saved the piece of the ceiling and put it on a plaque and gave it to me when I left. Now, I, this was during my big party that my wife and I threw the day that after I became a CO. And they came and told me this like at 11 o'clock at night. And I go like, okay, fine. Cause they paid for it. I knew they would. And, no, it was, you know, being a CO was incredible. It was fun. But it was also kind of serious. It was our squadron dealt with a lot of issues, and man, I was very proud of all the people from top to bottom in that squadron.
yeah,
Quite an
excellent.
experience.
I got a question here that's actually kind of good. Here we go.
Oh yeah,
Whoosh.
oh yeah. Were you ever in a plane and had a bogey to investigate? When? Where?
Probably a lot. Russians off the coast
It
of
happened once in a
Vietnam,
while.
right?
Well, I mean, once in a while, you'd have an unknown.
Mhm.
One of the best ones happened in this book when we went off of Central America, and I was flying with Petro. We were taxiing to the catapult shortly after we arrived. This was in 1983, and President Reagan sent us down there as gunboat diplomacy because to show presence around Nicaragua and the Sandinistas and all this stuff. And we're going, well, what are we going to do? Anyway, as soon as we arrived down there, we're starting for our first event, and the ship comes up on the radio, and they said, 204, taxi immediately to the cat. So we get taxied to the cat. They said on takeoff, your vector is, you know, let's see, we're going this way. Your vector 070 for 24 miles. So there was an unknown contact 24 miles from the carrier. So
That's
we
just
take
over
off.
the horizon. I mean,
Yeah.
literally over
So
the
we take off. We're loaded
horizon.
with fuel. We've just taken off. They go, your vector, is so and so. So I'm working my radar and we're looking. I'm going, God, I've got a real faint return. What is this? What is this? Petro goes, we're like 3 miles away. Petro goes, I see a speck. We join on it. It's a Beechcraft King Air with NBC News cameraman in it that was out trying to find the aircraft carrier because an aircraft carrier was off the coast of Central America. It hadn't done that in a long time off the Pacific coast.
Right.
So, that was exciting. What's this unknown character? Another time I was vectored on something they told us was a cool Soviet bomber. I don't remember if it was a Badger or a whatever. And they said your signal buster, which is max power but military
Mm.
power. Then they said your signal gate. That means select afterburner. So
So
get
it's zone
out.
5 and
Yeah. So my pilot and I, it's early morning. The sun is just coming up. We launched on the alert. We're going out there. And this Taco, you're going to shoot me when I'm done with this. We get out there and they go, max conserve, orbit your current position. And the contact either changed direction or there was nothing. We never saw anything. That's it. I mean, we had
you didn't get
five.
anything on your radar? You didn't pick
No,
anything up?
nope. Nothing.
All right. Well, that leads into, all right, next week I've got Dave Sexfraver, who F-18 CO, who chased the Tic Tac UFO.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
He's going to talk next week. Did you ever encounter anything
I never did.
while you guys were out on exercise?
No UFOs or nothing like that. No. Okay, so the thing about VMFA means heavier than air.
It's fixed wing.
Question?
Yeah, it was VMFA. That's fixed wing Marine fighter attack.
Yeah, but I've got an old book here that talks about how in the Navy, they had Z was lighter than air, and then H became helicopter. For some reason, they picked V to mean airplanes. So
planes, yeah, fixed wing.
Taco, let's do a couple more of these because I'm out of beer and I don't want to tell all my stories tonight. I want to leave them wanting more.
Well, you know what, guys? I'm gonna tell you this now. Exciting news. Mark this on your calendar because it's not out there yet. But I believe on May 16th, old Pete Mitchell here is going to put together Bio, Smegs. You're going to get Rat. I know you are.
Yeah.
Hey, 4 stars like anybody else, right? So we're going to have a special Top Gun Day on May 16th, which is a Sunday. And it's going to be at 12 noon Central, 10 Pacific, because we're going to include over in England and the whole 9 yards. And we'll get I can get like 10 people on here and have everyone just start telling some stories. And it'll be like the Ready Room, man. You'll start feeding off each other. And, oh, man, that'll remind me of a story that, yeah.
Man, that was so fun. Fun days.
So
fun days.
We're going to do that. Sir, I can't thank you enough, Bio, for coming out here. And, like I said, everybody.
Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about my website, TopGunBio.com.
Oh,
TOPGUNBIO.com. And I've got stories on there. I've got pictures, short stories written out, pictures, videos, stuff like that. So
TopGunBio.com.
Yeah.
All right. I just put that out there on the comment section for everybody. And if they feel the need for speed, they can get on there. So,
man, you fit that in good. You are a professional.
Hey, man, we're gonna have our big convention for RTAG. If you go back and look, I help sponsor and mentor helicopter guys coming into fixed wing and then flying fixed wing scholarships and whatnot. But we're having our convention out in San Diego and we're gonna have the party at the Kansas City barbecue. So I will take some pictures for you and send them out there.
Tell them I said hi. I know some of them, and they still have some of my pictures hanging on the wall out there.
I sure will. Well, guys, big round of applause. Thank you, Bio, and look forward to having you on the future, my friend. You take care. All right, hoorah, out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Tall Tales with Taco on Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Let's see, it's 9:35 East Coast time, and I kept him on for an hour and 33 minutes, and I really appreciate Bio's time hanging out with us tonight. And you folks, for your patience, I promise I'm going to start working on this. I'll do 10-minute sound bites. Share it, like it, send it to your friends. If it feels like you're sitting there shooting bull with your buddy and drinking a beer, then that's the way it should be. I'm no Joe Rogan yet, but hey, who cares? It's a hobby. It's fun, and I enjoy talking to cool people. Anyway, you guys relax. Have a good one. Michael Costanza has got the intros. People said that they wanted to see the light one, so I'm going to finish up with the light one. And just thanks again. I see everybody on here. Paul, Colin, John, Wayne. I got Desi. I got everybody. I got Pete Mitchell. I got Derek. Listen, you guys have a good one, and I will catch you next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be Commander Dave Sexfraver. Kind of sounds like Sex Favor. He's the Navy CO F-18 who chased the Tic Tac, and I'm particularly interested in this because all my hours of flying in the sky, and I've gone all around the world, I've never seen anything remotely cool like that. Plus, well, I saw a submarine once going into the Indian Ocean or Diego Garcia, but nothing like that. And it's going to be an interesting conversation. Hope to see you guys. You all have a great one. And here you go. Until next Tuesday. Enjoy, and I'll see you then. Enjoy the weekend. Hoorah. Semper Fi.